Hi, welcome to JBD TV. This is a debate about Iran and Israel. Tension is escalating on both sides. Iran says while they are strike on their nuclear facility, there will be no talk around negotiating table, as Iran's fires several ballistic missiles towards Israel.
The freedom of action to navigate above its air in the same way that, for example, Israel is doing in Lebanon in contravention of the ceasefire. So let's give diplomacy a chance and see where that takes us.
Negar Mortazavi, how much faith do you have in the political space that Eli Gorenmaya is hoping for there?
So I did check the breaking news. I'm guilty of looking at Twitter right now. And yes, that came from the president. But, looking at past precedent, they had nuclear negotiations scheduled for that Sunday, last Sunday, when the attacks came from the Israelis. It's like two different sort of operation rooms doing their own thing. So does this mean that the president is going to give a 2 weeks notice with attacks or without attacks? That's going to matter a lot, because the message the Iranians have been sending publicly is that if Israel stops, they will stop, and then they will return to negotiations. But while the attacks are coming from the Israelis on the very nuclear program that was going to be negotiated, I don't think they're going to come back to the table. And I agree with Eli, this has only hardened their position. As far as rallying around the flag, I just wanted to add something quickly. When we say rally around the flag, maybe that's a little confusing because it is the regime and the government, but this has created unity in a defense of the homeland. This is I want to distinguish even the government from the land. People's homes within the homeland are being attacked. This is reviving memories of the 1980s, the Iran-Iraq War. I lived in Tehran, grew up through that war. Regime opposition, government, critics went and signed up to go and fight in that war, not because of the government, not in defense of the regime, but to defend the homeland, to defend Iranian cities, Iranian homes, Iranian men, women, and children. And so this has had the effect. And now I'm seeing just regular, ordinary citizens posting videos directed at Netanyahu and saying, Mr. Netanyahu, didn't you say this is a war on Iran's nuclear program? How come my home is bombarded? And then they pan around the camera and showing a destroyed house. So I think that's important to also distinguish, even for people who have no love lust for the regime. This is an attack on their homeland, on their homes. It's not clear whose home is going to be next, whose family is going to die in the bombing. And that has certainly created a sense of unity, at least among the population.
This rallying around the flag or the homeland, as was just put there by Negar, if there is this 2-week window of opportunity, what happens? Do we go back to the old stalemate after all of this?
Stalemate on the international scale?
Yeah.
So my question is, what happens to the civilians then? For all the people who are chanting death to the dictator, to all the people who were opposing the regime.
Because there was 2009, there was 2019, there was 2022.
And even before 1999, there were many episodes. So my question is, what is going to happen to the civilians? That's the main question, because yes, the Iranian people love their country, but they also hate and have fought the Islamic Republic for years. And one of the catchphrases that comes again and again, especially from the families of the victims of this repression, if you allow me, I will say it first in Farsi, "Doshman ma haminjast," which means our enemy is here inside. And I'm thinking right now about Majid Reza Rahnavard, Pejman Ghalipur, all these people who have been killed by the Islamic Republic, all these people who are afraid to simply live under the Islamic Republic of Iran. Right now, the situation is the failure of the international community. They had the occasion to support the civil society, help them open a space of debate where they could build ideas, where they could fund strike funds.
Because these are archive images we're seeing from the 2022, 2023. A lot's happened since.
Yes. A lot happened, and actually during Women Life Freedom, the regime has been destabilized by the protests. And it was during this period that the international community should have used all the levers of the international law that exist. They should have put targeted sanctions on the heads of the regime instead of making the population suffer. They should have updated the sanctions that for most of them were not efficient anymore. They should have, like I said, helped the strikes. Right before the bombing by Israel, we were following the 3rd week of strike by the workers in Iran. And why didn't they help then? Where was the international community then? So my only focus as an activist for human rights is the civilians. What is going to happen to them? Because they make deals and people die.
Rohan Malvandi, they make deals and people die. We had a panelist earlier this week stating that if there is some kind of a power vacuum, it doesn't mean that a Western-style democracy follows.
Well, nobody knows, I think, exactly what would follow. The worst-case scenarios are ones where Iran turns into something like what